Hey everybody, it's your old boy Andy.
And it's Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, X spells.
Welcome back everybody, it's the Commander's Brew.
Yes,
episode
it is.
50.
50.
We did it.
$50.
$50. That's how much everyone owes us.
This is the cap of all of our decks.
That's how much we owe you. $50.
Yeah. No, as you know, we do budget decks, and no deck comes in over $50.
That's right. Oh yeah, look at that. That's the cap. I didn't know what you were talking about.
The cap of our deck prices.
Yeah. $50.
And no cards over $5 unless it needs to be in there for a special reason. So that would have been episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5 was early. We weren't talking about that then. Right?
No, we didn't even. We were just primordial soup at that point.
We were primordial oozes.
Yeah.
So episode 50. We're gonna do 2 takes as always as well. We're gonna have a commander interview a bit later, but that's after the show. But we're halfway to the 100 mark.
Halfway to the hundo.
Yeah, and being that we are sponsored by our great sponsor Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com, we got to get that ad going.
Yeah.
So here it is.
Oh, hello. It's me, an employee of Canada Post. We're about to go on strike, or are we? We're not telling anybody, but it's making everything very difficult for shipping things in Canada. But you know who we can't stop? We can't seem to stop Wizards Tower. WizardTower.com. They're still able to offer you shipping deals. So now, if you spend between $50 and $150, you'll get $10 off shipping plus 2 free booster packs of Shadow over Innistrad. And if you spend over $150, you'll get free shipping. Still, what do we have to do to ruin it for these guys? And if you happen to be catching this ad before July the 8th, you'll also get 10% off of your order. All of this is in addition to the 3% kickback you'll get from ordering singles. This is obviously only for singles only. If you buy a whole bunch of, playmats and things, the shipping is different. So we've got you there, Wizards Tower. But perhaps we've got a grip on the mail in Canada. But somehow, Wizards Tower, we'll get you next time. We'll get you next time. And while you're at it, don't forget to do the code Tower of Brews. Those Commander's Brew guys, they're good guys. So, get an extra 5% off that way. Thank you for nothing.
Yeah, so the postal strike.
The maybe postal strike. The postal. They're being whiners.
Yeah.
They're like, maybe we're going to strike, maybe we're going to walk out, we don't know yet.
So now we know where Sean stands on unions.
Well, no offense if you work for the Canada Post, but, whose side are you on?
Yeah, well, they don't want to... Do you want to stop door-to-door delivery?
I think that is going to be a thing of the past.
I like it a lot. I don't have to walk anywhere to get my mail except for the front of my door.
Yeah, well,
it's great.
Let's just get to the future, right?
Some things are worth kicking around. What about old people? What are they supposed to do?
Drones will fly their mail to their house.
Hey, that's cool. If we're talking drones or no drones, I'm all in on drones.
Yeah,
but
man.
we're not. That doesn't seem to be the issue.
Thopters, little mail thopters.
Yeah, I'd love a male thopter. Creature type thopter male, but M-A-I-L.
M-A-I-L. Right? And the kind of armor he wears is mail.
Yeah, he wears mail. Yeah. It's a thopter wearing armor. You can equip him with thopter armor.
With thopter mail.
Thopter mail. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in Canada.
Yeah. So that is affecting. Obviously Wizard Tower mail and stuff out. It's going to affect our patrons, right? The first of the month rolled around.
Yeah.
So we got some patron support there, and we were going to mail out thank you cards and stuff. So we're just going to wait and see how this postal strike carries out. Because the last thing I want to do is send out cool stuff and have it wait in a warehouse for months.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
We'll figure something out. Maybe it'll be a bit of a delay.
Hopefully there won't, from what I can see, I don't think they're going to be on strike that long if they do go on strike. So
I don't know.
So anyways, fingers crossed on that one. Anyways, so that's a bit of the political logistics
Enough
of
politics.
Here. Yeah, exactly. So it's our Mono X episode, not our X, not like spells we've broken up with,
No.
or broken up with us.
No.
Not those type. Not
It
ones
was
that we've
amicable though.
Well, it was.
We still talk to our spells.
We still talk to our X spells. Yeah,
Yeah.
you talk to all your X spells.
Yeah, man. I think it's important to maintain a positive relationship with all your X spells.
Yeah. You're always talking about X spells on the show.
I love X
You
spells.
love X spells.
I love X spells because why do it? Because
there's no limit, man.
There's no limit, and I think when you take an X spell to the extreme, it is unparalleled in what it can do in the game. Like, there are very broken cards that cost 8 and cost 9 and cost 10 or whatever, but like when you throw like 15 or 20 into an X spell, it's like there ain't nothing that compares to that.
Yeah. I had an opportunity. So we were playing Commander last night, and I had an opportunity to just fire off a huge fireball for maximum for everything and just win. But the Jeskai player over here, our boy Sean, had a lot of open mana, and you don't cast huge X spells into open blue mana. You just don't.
You don't
right?
do it.
You don't tap out for your fireball and then just like, well, I hope so. So I had to do a lot of thinking, went in the tank quite a bit, and then ended up with the win though.
Yeah.
But actually, Sean should have, right? You should have Ray commanded my guy, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't have won there at least.
I was thinking about it long and hard this morning at my job. I had a
Going
lot of
over
time
old
to
plays.
Going over it. I think for those that are at all interested, my mistake with the turn before was casting Gilded Lotus and Sun Titan.
Oh,
Or
really?
something. I spent a lot of mana
Yeah.
in desperation that I didn't need to. And I was like, if I had left enough up to cast both of those spells, Ray of Command and the one that makes you attack another person, I would have been fine.
I see.
I would have covered both bases.
I did the same thing in the game previous. I cast out that 5 mana artifact that lets you blink a guy at the end of your turn, and I just didn't need to do that. And I just did it knowing that I had some counter spells in my hand and some other stuff I could have played it instantly, but I was like, you know what? This looks like a good turn to play it, and it just wasn't.
Well, and then
I shouldn't have. It was my mistake.
That thing too where you're like, oh, you know what? There's been a lot of turns where we're just kind of sandbagging, where like nobody does anything for a round, nobody really does anything for another round. It's like, fine, I'll just tap out because we're not going to do anything again. But then it's all of a sudden like, here we go. It's like, man,
exactly.
you pick now?
They were just waiting for us to tap out.
Yeah.
In both those games,
But not a conscious decision, maybe subconsciously. No one was waiting for that as their moment to strike, I don't think.
yeah, no, you're right.
If
Actually,
they were very subtle about it.
yeah, that's true. Well, anyways, that's the recap of our fun night. So yeah, we've got mono X spells, as we've called it,
Or
and
X spells tribal.
X spells tribal. Yeah, that's right. Or just X spells.
These decks have a ton of spells with X in the casting cost or activation or something like that.
What colors do you associate most with X spells?
Blue and red.
Definitely, right?
Yeah.
Red. I think for me it's green and red. Green because of all the hydras and but yeah, maybe blue.
Blue for all the draw spells, and
yeah, there's a lot of those. Yeah,
that's why I consider blue, but they're all kind of the same.
But at any rate, it's definitely red.
Yeah, red is the X spell king.
Red is Fireball, the classic, and then all the iterations of that, and so on.
So we divided by colors. We picked different color sets to build these decks. So Andy picked a red-green brew.
That's right.
And I picked a Sultai brew. I picked black, blue, green. And I'm not going to lie, I did it just because of Villainous Wealth. Maybe my favorite X card in the history of Magic.
Great. Okay, so let's get into it. So what commanders did we choose?
Cool.
For these decks?
Cool. So I picked Sidisi, Blood Tyrant, Brewed Tyrant. Yeah, he costs 4, Sultai +1.
She, right?
She, yes. Cool.
Okay.
So she cost 1 Sultai, so like 1 black, green, blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Sidisi Brewed Tyrant enters the battlefield or attacks, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. There are not many Sultai commanders, and none of them really help the X spell strategy. Sidisi gives you the occasional token, which is good, because we can have Ashnod's Altar just get an extra 2 mana off of one of these tokens, but Sidisi is really not meant to be like active in this deck primarily.
Interesting, yeah.
He's also super cheap.
Yeah, you're right. There's not that many. I mean, Damia can be one, but that's a little out of our budget. That's a $10 commander.
Tassiger maybe, but like who cares?
And Vorosh the Hunter is the other ones. So there's only five Sultai commanders
eligible right now.
Interesting.
Wait till the new commander sets. I bet you they'll give us 1 or 2 more of these rare.
Yeah, good call. Like, yeah, people are talking about whether or not it's going to be all 4 color generals or if we're going to get a 3 color one in there.
We got to get Sultai.
Will.
We got to get a Mardu. We got to get like these are weak colors for commander.
Totally. So all right. So Sean went with Sidisi, mostly for color reasons.
For color reasons, for villainous wealth.
And I think one of the cards that sort of I went with one of the cards that I think inspired the whole episode, and we talked about on the Brew and Brawl stream last month. Roshin Meanderer. This one's a no-brainer, I think, if you're in these colors and you're going with X spells. Roshin Meanderer is 3 and a hybrid Gruul, so a red or a green. Legendary Giant Shaman, and it says tap, add 4 generic to your mana pool. Spend this mana only on... Sorry, that's 4 colorless, actually. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X. So she's just an immediate boost to your X spells. And by immediate, I mean after she's survived her summoning sickness. So yeah, Roshin Meanderer, the giant lady.
Great.
Who has nowhere to go. She is... I've said this a bunch of times, I think, whenever it's been featured, but this is one of the only commanders that really bugs me because she doesn't have her own name.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you don't need to have your own name, but it feels like this wasn't a legendary creature until they had it in testing and they were like, oh, actually, this ability is really strong if you have more than one of these on the table at one time.
Yes, it's not fair.
So let's actually just quickly make this legendary before it goes to print or whatever. And then they were like, oh, wait, we usually give legendary creatures their like an actual name, and this one is just a description of what she is. I'm positive that's what happened. Prove me wrong, R&D. Prove me wrong, someone at Wizards of the Coast.
Yes.
Am I right about this?
Someone at
I
R&D,
think so.
If you want to man up to this and talk about it.
Lady up to this.
We will happily have you on as a guest to talk about it.
For sure we will. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's what I went. And I think it's just like a bit of a no-brainer. And a lot of fun when your commander can help you out.
And 4 is good.
4 is
amazing. Like, because normally you're gonna tap out for an X spell and you're like, I got it up to 7. That's awesome. Like 7 points of a fireball, 7 cards drawn. But then if you jump it up another 4, that's enormous.
Yeah.
Like if 7 is good, 11 is incredible.
Yeah, like 11 for any of the spells that matter. It makes your creatures that much bigger. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what's the game plan?
Yeah, what's the game plan with these?
Okay, so with Sidisi and the Sultai build, we gotta get some ramp.
Yeah,
right.
That's true for both of us.
Right. How are you gonna cast big X spells if you can't afford it? Right.
Exactly.
So we want big ramp. Then we're gonna cast big giant X spells. Hopefully at instant speed. We're gonna like do a lot of the holding up of mana kind of deal, and then we're gonna win.
That's it.
It's the game plan for this deck is a little bit step 1, cast your spells, step 2, ... step 3, profit.
Yeah, okay. Your underwear gnoming it on this one.
Yeah.
You know what, honestly, it's a bit of the same for me. Ramping, obviously very important with this deck. Obviously, our commander helps us quite a bit. We went with a lot of Hydras in this one. Naturally, because that's the X spells that green likes to cast. And in doing that, we've got some +1/+1 counter synergy because a lot of the Hydras like that, and that's what they get. That's how they grow. And then obviously we got Hydras with green, and then we got a lot of big burn spells with the red. Burn out the rest of them. Hit them with the Hydras, and then quick burn everybody out.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I have a feeling your deck might be a little bit more fun for my taste.
Oh yeah, those are the
think
things
so.
you love to do with X.
But man, I love
sure.
Villainous Wealth. I love Villainous Wealth.
Yeah,
we'll talk
Villainous
about
Wealth is
it.
great.
If you don't know it already, we'll get to it. Don't worry.
Okay, so let's get into the decks. Let's get into the Sultai build first.
Cool. So green, black, blue. We want a lot of mana. And yes, we've got access to green's ramp, which is great, and we do take advantage of that. But we want to be able to bank that mana as well. That's going to be even better than putting an extra land down.
So smart.
So let's talk about Mage Ring Network.
Yep.
It's a simple land. Tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay a generic and tap it to put a storage counter on it. So it occupies 2 of your lands, right? The turn you do this, like the land that produces the mana, and then Mage Ring Network taps. So it occupies 2, but you put a counter on it, and then at any point you can tap Mage Ring Network to remove X counters from Mage Ring Network and add X to your mana pool. So as the game goes, this just is 1 bigger, 1 bigger, 1 bigger, 1 bigger. If you can devote 2 lands to it, and then before you know it, you're like, well, this thing has 4 or 5 on it, so that's like my own little Roshin Meander one time.
The cards like this are great. There are also, of course, the actual dual lands that do the same thing, right?
Well, how about this? How about Dreadship Reef? That's the next card I'm going to bring up here.
Is it?
Yeah. That's the one for blue and black. It's the only one in Sultai colors.
Right, because it's only the allied pairs.
Right. So same deal, except when you have to pay 1 to activate it, and then you remove X counters from Dreadship Reef to add X mana in any combination of blue or black. So we get the advantage of having colored mana, which I don't think makes a big difference in X spells. I'd rather just have the colorless. I'd rather have multiple Mage Ring Networks if possible, but I'll take it. I can bank, because while I'm doing that, I mean, at the end of the turn, if no one's done anything terrible, I can occupy 4 of my lands and put 2 storage counters on it. It's an investment in the future.
These cards thoroughly confused me when I first saw them.
Yep, me too.
I first saw people playing with them, and I was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. But it's far more intuitive than it looks. If any of you haven't played with these cards yet, so it's like you tap 1. You can tap it for colorless at any time, just as a regular land, right?
Regular land that produces colorless.
Then to store mana in it, you have to pay 1 from another source and tap it, right?
Yep.
And then when you want to get the mana off of it, say you got 5 counters on it, you have to pay 1 colorless. Well, the beauty part is that Dreadship Reef creates its own colorless. You don't need to tap it, actually.
Yes, Dreadship Reef doesn't tap to cash out. So you can tap it to pay its 1 colorless to start it rolling.
Yeah.
So it's a free activation off itself, and then you just cash out as much as you want.
Yeah, basically what it says is what they did with Mage Ring Network is they just made it way more intuitive sounding. Is you just tap it and remove all the counters from it. And then you get that mana.
Yeah.
Great. Like they just made it way more explained way better on Mage Ring Network.
Yeah, it's a bit cleaner.
Yeah,
it's a bit cleaner.
for sure.
So there's a 2 land-based banks. Let's talk about Everflowing Chalice. This is sort of an X spell on its own in my mind. Because it's a 0 mana artifact with multi-kicker 2, so every time you spend 2 to cast it, you get a charge counter on it, and then when you tap it, you add 1 colorless to your mana pool for each charge counter.
Yeah.
So if you're able to drop it for 4 or 5 counters, that's a good bank. This becomes a good mana bank, a good way to access a lot of mana. And since we're ramping and casting huge spells anyway, we can probably get this thing pretty big.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is a cool one. I never heard of this one. Blue X. Enchantment, Iceberg. Iceberg comes into play with X ice counters on it, so basically whatever X is. Mm-hmm. You can spend 3 colorless to put an ice counter on Iceberg, or you can just remove a counter from Iceberg to add 1 colorless to your mana pool. So this is a one-shot bank. I can spend my whole turn banking everything I got, and then the next turn it's sitting there with maybe 8 or 10 or 11 on it, and at any point I can just be like, I'll take that 11 to add to my X spell, please.
Nice. Wow, yeah.
Or part of it. I don't have to do, and then if Iceberg, if I'm sitting there, that's a mana sink as well, where I can be like, well, no one's done anything, so I'll just put 2 or 3 more counters on it.
Absolutely. That's a great investment for the future there.
I love it. I love it.
In case you didn't know, Sean loves it.
I love Iceberg.
This is a neat card.
Is it neat? Should I have saved it for Discoveries? I should have. I'm going to repeat it for Discoveries, but man, I'm too excited about it.
Don't worry about it.
It's just the best bank. I can't leave it out of the category of mana banks.
It's a great bank. The 3 seems like a lot to pay, but it doesn't really matter when you're just leaving your mana up, right?
It's just a one, but it's meant to be a one shot. Like I'm gonna start it with 7 on there, or something like that, and then it's like, who cares if I don't ever add anything to it? I get an extra 7 boost on any spell I want.
And not to mention just the times when you need that one extra mana to be able to cast something extra from your hand that turn.
Sure.
'Cause you can just remove an ice counter from it and add 1. Like you don't need to remove all of them.
No, you do not.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get over to let's take a look at the Gruul. Gruul X spells, the big ones. So obviously I said Hydras. We got a lot of Hydras. One of the best ones is a proper Gruul Hydra from Dragon's Maze. It's X green red. It's a Savage-born Hydra. I remember when this one came out. It was a much sought after card. It's the one with double strike. Starts off as a 0/0, as most Hydras do. Savage-born Hydra enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on it. Obviously, so good. Also has the text of pay 1 and a hybrid Gruul, put a 1/1 counter on Savage-born Hydra, and you can activate this ability only as a sorcery. So, obviously, I mean, there's not much to say about this guy. He enters as a huge monster. Over the course of the game, you can make him bigger if you want, and he has double strike. Like, what more do you want out of your X spells, really?
Yeah, like double strike on like 5/5 or bigger. Like at a certain point, it's like, who even cares?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like
this thing's untouchable. So you just have the biggest, craziest monster in the game,
and it can get bigger quite cheaply.
Quite cheaply. This is a great guy to have if you have Xenagod in your deck.
And,
also,
as a mana sink too, right? Like again, the beauty of running X spelly decks is we have so much ramp and stuff in here that it's like, well, you're not going to do anything? Okay, cool. At the end of my turn, I'll put on 7 counters.
Yeah, the problem is you can only do it as a sorcery, so you can't.
Is that true?
You can't really
anytime
wait till the end of your turn. But if you are in this deck, there's not a lot of instant speed stuff going on. To be honest with you, these are big dumb Gruul spells we're talking about here. So. At the end of your second main phase, you can certainly add a couple if you got the extra mana kicking around.
I like my Gruul spells like I like my dogs, big and dumb.
Big and dumb, and big and dumb and cost a lot. Next one we got is Lifeblood Hydra. This one came out in the Commander 2014 set. It's X and 3 green, and it comes in with X/1/1 counters on it. Now, that doesn't seem like that great a deal, actually, because it's in a normal deck. But in the X deck, we're having a lot of fun with it. We got a lot of mana to throw around, so it's okay. It has native trample, which is huge. That's a great addition. And it says when Lifeblood Hydra dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to its power, which is a real deterrent, I think, when it's very big to killing it. It's like, well, I got to kill this thing. Well, I'm going to draw all these cards from it and gain all this life. Like, this thing can pretty easily be a 10/10 in this deck, and just having that, no matter what happens to this guy, you're happy. Just don't get it exiled. That's all.
Roshin Meander, you have 4 mana to cast Roshin.
Yep.
And now, so the 3 green that starts this, the 1 extra plus Roshin, it's a 5/5 minimum.
Yeah, that's going to be a 5/5 on turn 5.
Do not deny that extra 4 that Roshin throws around.
Yeah, on turn 5. A 3 green X spell is a 5/5.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And if there's a board wipe or whatever, you're going to reload your hand and have a good time with it.
Reloading.
This is one that I didn't like at first when I saw this card spoiled, but the decks that it's good in, it's very good in. So it's one of those. It's good, a very narrow band. And finally, in this highlighting of the Hydras, do that. Hydra lighting.
Gotta keep your hydrolytes big.
Hydrolytes.
With new
That's probably just
Gatorade.
a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is for if you drive a lot in Seattle. You gotta turn your hydrolytes on, bud. Okay. Protean Hydra. This is for me. This is like a real classic. I think I played this in the app, and this is the first Hydra I ever saw. It's X green. Enters with 1/1 counters on it. It's a 0/0. And it says, if damage will be dealt to Protean Hydra, prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters from it. And then whenever a +1/+1 counter is removed from Protean Hydra, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So basically, any chump blockers just makes this guy even bigger. You get this guy real big. He becomes very hard to block because the next turn he's just going to be bigger.
Yeah, you have to kill him at once.
Yeah, you got to try and get them all at once. Exactly. He's a classic Hydra in that you cut one head off, the 2 grow back. That's the classic Hydra story, right?
And we are releasing this on YouTube, so those of you viewing, I would like to point out the little dude in the corner running away in the cartoon running pose.
Yeah,
He's like such a cart, like bodies don't do that. Like he's like, you can just imagine his legs spinning in a tornado.
yeah. It's that wheel that like classic Roadrunner running away.
Yeah,
and he's definitely making the noise.
Yeah.
Protean Hydra's great. It goes. There's a very cool combo that I don't actually have in this deck, but with Rootkin Hydra or Rootkin Ally, I think it's called. No. Anyways, whatever. Something where you get to take so if you can remove +1/+1 counters from him yourself, he will just grow bigger. Because it doesn't say that the it's just whenever a +1/+1 counter is removed from him. So if you have any of those guys that draw cards, this is a great guy to throw in any deck. Like that. Even if you make him small at first, even if it's not a big mana thing. Love this card.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Up around $2 now. So yeah, but it's great. Protean Hydra, strong. One of my favorite Hydras.
Yeah, great. Cool. So let's go back to the Sultai build. We want to make our X spells worth even more, right?
Yes.
So
okay.
let's and Sultai can do that with a couple of special cards. I want to talk about Gilder Baron. Right? Gilder Baron is 1 and 2 Simic hybrid. So because we have green and blue, we can do that. So it's a 1/3, but it has an untap ability. So you have to tap it somehow. Like tapping isn't free. Like you have to attack with it or tap it another means. Mm-hmm. But if you can get this thing tapped, you can pay 2 and a Simic. So like 2 red or 2 blue or 2 blue green, and then untap this guy. For each counter on target permanent, put another of those counters on that permanent. Double up some counters. So worst case scenario, the board is locked up. You attack with Gilder Baron, and then you untap him before damage is dealt. Maybe he gets blocked, maybe he dies, whatever. You get that one-shot use at the very least.
Right.
But, remember that Mage Ring network that was been storing counters? Sure. Now I've doubled that. Maybe Iceberg, I've doubled the amount of Iceberg counters on that. Yep. So this is just... it's just a more investment. It's an Everflowing Chalice. I'll make the Everflowing Chalice twice as big. And I'm not going to lie, I do run a few Hydras as creatures.
If you got to run some Hydras.
I got some Hydras, so it makes those Hydras even bigger. So, doubles. It doubles them.
Notable also for other Commander players who are not as on a strict budget as we are on the show, Gilder Baron does this to Planeswalkers.
It does. Yeah, because it doesn't specify the kind of counter. Anything that has counters.
Yeah, counter on target permanent.
Yeah.
Also.
Huge. And then, so, very similar to Gilder Baron, next up is Varel of the Hull Clade.
The Hull Clade.
You're from the Hull Clade.
I'm from the Hull Clade, yeah.
That's his last name.
We're half merfolk.
Yeah.
We're from the east coast of Canada, sure.
Yeah, so he's a 1 blue and green legendary human merfolk. He's a 1/4. For the cost of blue and green and tap, for each counter on target artifact, creature, or land, put another of those counters on that permanent. For our purposes, we don't got no Planeswalkers. It won't hit enchantments, so we can't do Iceberg.
Ooh.
But Mage Ring Network, double those counters. Any of those Hydras, double those counters. Everflowing Chalice, double those counters. No problem. Yeah. These guys... him and Gilder Baron out there, like, watch out, because like my X spells are going to drop like bomb diggities.
Yeah, bomb diggities. Wow.
And then here's another way that I can improve my ways to make X spells bigger, and that's a simple Contagion Clasp. It's a 2-mana artifact. When Contagion Clasp enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Who cares about that? We want to pay 4 and tap to proliferate. That is to say, add a counter of any type on a thing that already has counters. So Everflowing Chalice, 1 bigger. Mage Ring Network, 1 bigger. That blue-black charge land, 1 bigger. Everything gets bigger every time you spend 4 mana.
This is great.
Iceberg, 1 bigger.
I didn't even think about Proliferate. That's a great idea.
I didn't devote too much space to it, but...
it's another nice little mana sink, right?
A nice little mana sink,
You're going to need mana sinks in a deck where you're just ramping so much because you want to get to the X spells. There's going to be stuff you want to do in between, so the mana sinks are very important.
Yeah, like if you have Varel, Contagion Clasp, and an Everflowing Chalice, like that gets out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
Out of hand.
Yeah. Proliferate, double them up. Yeah, what a laugh. Okay, let's take a look at what I decided to do with extra mana, or to produce extra mana for that matter. I went with one of the first cards that I thought of when I thought about X spells in this deck is Astral Cornucopia. This is such a cool card.
And it's got the most X's out of any spell.
Exactly. It's triple X. Adults only. Only mess with this card if you're over 21.
Adult Cornucopia.
Yeah, Adult Cornucopia big time. Triple S, so it's got triple X in its casting cost. Astral Cornucopia enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it. And you tap it, you choose a color, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool for each charge counter on Astral Cornucopia. So this is just a classic mana rock, costs 3 for 1 counter, so 3 to make 1. It's like a Darksteel Ingot or whatever. But if you got the mana, this thing can be huge, right? Like you pay 6, all of a sudden this thing has got 2, it's producing 2 a turn, 9, it's producing 3, and so on. So, I mean, obviously that's like, it gets up into the regions, but if you can get this for 6 and it's producing 2, that's very helpful, right? And if you got all this mana kicking around, and Astral Cornucopia is just going to make your next X spell that much bigger. So it's just it's a cool one with X in its casting cost. Next, we've got Animus Awakening. Big X spell here. X in green. It's a sorcery. It says reveal the top X cards of your library. Put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Has spell mastery. If there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, untap those lands. You can do this. It doesn't, like, spell mastery or no, kind of doesn't, like, if you get it, obviously, what a huge bonus, but if you don't, you're still pretty pleased because, again, the next X spell you cast is going to be that much bigger. Already, if you can make this one huge, it's so great. You're going to get, like, you know, probably a little less than half the number that you put in X to. I guess on average, you'll probably get that.
I cut this from the deck, my build of the deck, because I don't have enough forests, so untapping them is pointless. But also, I found that I was searching out a lot of lands with spells, so my land density got low enough, so by the time I wanted to cast this, I was like, well, I'm getting like 3 out of this.
I don't understand. What do you mean by forest?
Well, it untaps all your... lands. Oh, it untaps all your lands. Yeah. Untap the ones you get. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't a thing, but it was just because I found, like, I was... By the time I wanted to cast this, because I don't have Roshin to boost me.
Yeah.
So, like, I have to cast this card late.
Yeah.
So, but by the time it's late, I've already sucked out a bunch of forests or other cards using, you know, those green ramp spells. Mm-hmm. So my land density gets lower, which is good. Yeah. But it makes this bad.
Yeah, it's definitely Roshin gives you that bonus because I am with you normally. I don't like this card that much because, yeah, the later you cast this, the better it is, right? I mean...
And green isn't going to use this as its first ramp.
No, exactly. So, yeah, you got to wait around to do this, in which case... Unless you got a landfall deck, it's not that great, right? So, but it is decent to very good in this deck, where Roshin can boost you right up quite nicely. So, again, turn 5, this thing is going to look at the, I don't know what, top 5 cards?
Well, 4 for its casting cost, plus 4 from Roshin. It's going to look at the top 8.
Right, yeah, I didn't even think that. Yeah, so that's great.
8 cards on turn 5, you're going to get 3 or 4 lands out of there, no problem.
I did that math all wrong. Okay, so another one, again, it's a card that I don't like. I'm not usually that into these type of cards, but Dictate of Karametra.
Interesting.
3 and 2 green. It's an enchantment with flash. It says, whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. So it's just a mana doubler for everyone.
I can't think of a better way to get more mana out of your lands.
Obviously, if you're an X spell person, you're going to get a lot of bonus off of this. The fact that it has flash is great.
Key.
That's where right where you want to be, because you can flash this in at the end of your opponent's turn, and then you get you're the first person to get the benefit from it.
That's what we want.
Yeah. So that's great, and then you're going to be able to double up and make the biggest X spells, and hopefully from there on out you can continue to dominate the game. But otherwise, I'm not a huge fan of cards that affect everyone, because there's always going to be someone who's going to also be able to take very good advantage of it, right? Like, the thing is like, well, you'll be able to take the most advantage of it.
Not double mana, though.
Yeah, not double mana, though. Because like some people can just dump their hand if they're like a small deck. There's other X spells. There's X in white. There's X in...
Yeah, and like the blue player is probably going to be like, oh, cool, now I can cast my Opportunity and another draw spell and hold up counter magic. Cool.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't need to if you have Opportunity. Or sorry, I thought you were talking about Omniscience.
Oh, yeah, Omniscience. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Omniscience, whatever. But yeah, you're right. Whatever. Opportunity. Just draw a million cards and then be able to dump everything. And then you're...
Yeah.
You're sitting there with your Dictate of Karametra in your hand. Okay, so those are my ways to get big mana.
Sure.
My ways to help out the X
So we
spells.
talked about ways in the Sultai deck to just get huge mana, to get tons of mana. So hopefully we're casting things for like 12, 15, maybe 20. Is 20 unreasonable? Not if we got a couple banks going, got a big
I don't think
iceberg.
so,
I don't
yeah.
think so. So let's talk about some of their big X finishers, right? Some of the ones we want to cast to just like bomb it out and just crush some stuff. So the first one I want to talk about is Gelatinous Genesis. So Gelatinous Genesis costs green XX. Okay? Says put XX green ooze creature tokens onto the battlefield.
Ooh, another triple X.
Another triple X. Ooh.
Adults only.
Adults only.
This one's
ooze.
behind the saloon-looking doors at the back of your video store.
Yeah. I don't want to touch adult ooze at all.
Yeah, no, nobody does.
Gross. So let's think about this. Green XX. So if X equals 1, that is to say you've paid 3, then you get 1, 1, 1. Right?
Yes.
If X equals 2, that costs you 5, you get 2 2s.
Yeah.
Right? So every 2 additional mana we spend, this gets significantly better.
One bigger and one more.
Yeah, exponential. So we've gone from 1 total power toughness to 4 total power toughness, and then 3 through 3s is 9 power and toughness. We're going up by the cubes. We're going up in cubes. So if you can spend 20 on this, I guess 19, X equals
9.
You get 9 9/9s.
Yeah, that's
Right?
crazy.
Which is not unreasonable, right? So like this is the kind of thing. If you drop 9 9/9s on the board, it's like, well, I hope you guys got something to deal with it because this is ending someone very soon.
Yeah, normally I think the threshold for Gelatinous Genesis is 3. X equals 3. So you cast it for 7, you get 3 3/3s. You get 9 power toughness on the board for 7 mana. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
You'll take that in most formats, and usually in a commander deck, it's set up to take advantage of the fact that they're tokens, whether you can populate them or, whatever, you're making double of them or something. But yeah, in this one, where we're getting the real value is the X, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Once you get X into big numbers, this gets ludicrous. It is unlike any other token producer in the game.
If you can make 19 mana, yeah, wow.
Which is not unreasonable. Anyway, that's one thing, that you got to deal with it. Another one, this is a classic. This comes up a bunch. Exsanguinate, right?
Mm-hmm.
X black. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. If you can make a giant X there, 1 or 2 players are dead, and you're heartily in this game with tons of life.
Each opponent. That's the key.
Yeah.
And you gain life equal to the life. Like, you gain it from everyone. It's like a big Gary.
Yeah, huge Gary.
Huge Gary. Huge my buddy Gary.
Gary the Huge. And then let's talk about Bond of Agony.
Ooh.
Maybe this one will work. I'm not sure. This one requires testing for me. X and black. Sorcery. As an additional cost to play Bond of Agony, pay X life.
Oh.
Each other player loses X life.
So you pay the mana and lose the life.
And everyone else loses the life.
So, like, another way to just say this was every player loses X life.
Yes, it is. But the fact that you have to pay X as the cost, so you lose it first. So you can't create draws with this.
Okay.
Because if the effect all resolved at the same time and everyone went to 0, it would be a draw.
Yeah.
But you pay the life first. So if you don't have enough life to win, so maybe this does no good. Right? Maybe this card's bad. I don't know. So another card that you're thinking of that does do this are like your Hurricanes, where it deals damage to each player and each flying creature, right?
Yeah.
So that's a way to just draw the game, which sucks.
Yeah, so you got to make sure you're up on life total for that.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any good, but I thought it was interesting. I'm putting it in there.
It is interesting for sure. Definitely good in a life gain X deck, maybe. Maybe there's a black-white
I
life
do
gain
have
X deck.
Exsanguinate. I do have
that's
Lifeblood Hydra.
Yeah.
So like I have ways to gain some life.
Okay, so next I just wanted to include some other really cool X spells that I sort of found. This one's a classic, I think. It's the equipment. It's the X equipment. Sigil of Distinction. You pay X is its casting cost. Sigil of Distinction comes into play with X charge counters on it. Another good charge counter target here. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Sigil of Distinction, and to equip it, you remove a charge counter. So, you dump your man into this and you move it on to a guy and he's huge. Bam, end of story. Sigil distinction. Very simple.
Yeah.
Put this on your Lifeblood Hydra, though, and that makes your Lifeblood Hydra that much bigger, gain that much life.
Does it gain life equal to the number of counters or how big it is?
I think it's its power.
I don't know.
I want to go searching through. Oh, I almost nailed it. Gain life and draw cards equal to its power.
Yeah, so this works.
It sure does.
This
so,
works.
Sigil distinction's great. And it's kind of a big dumb X spell, but that's kind of what you want, right? Like you want to be able to hit people with big dumb X spells.
Well, and you've got a couple tramplers in here, so that's going to do well. And I think it's important to note that the equip cost is essentially free.
It's basically free.
Like it doesn't cost you mana to equip.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't cost you mana. That's the key. That's the key there. And it can be really, really good, like Sean said, with those tramplers. Next, we have a cool little one. Again, a card that not usually that into this style of card, but it works really well here with Roshin. We got a card called Enshrined Memories, and it's X and a green for a sorcery that says, reveal the top X cards of your library, put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So we've seen lots of cards like this before. This one is better than most of them because it has such a high ceiling. You'll be able to make this obviously a lot with your X spells with Roshin. But the the good thing about this, okay, is that like in this deck with Hydras, right, you can't use cards that just put creatures from your library directly into play. So
because they come in as 0/0s.
They'll come in as 0/0s and they'll all die. So there's a lot of good cards that would be really great, like Genesis Wave, Genesis Hydra for that matter. But they're not that good because you can't. If you put your Hydras out, they just die. Those are X spells. So Enshrined Memories is kind of a I don't know if maybe it's better just for this deck, but it's kind of like a better Genesis Wave. You're going to get them all in your hand, which obviously isn't as good, but because they're Hydras, it actually is better, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of your creatures do that. So Enshrined Memories is a great way to get a few Hydras in your hand and then cast them out next turn. I wish it was instant speed though, right?
Yeah.
I wish it was instant speed. That's better.
Yeah.
But it's still definitely good for loading your hand up. It's basically just a way to draw cards, and you want to draw your creatures in this deck for the most part. So it's a nice little basically draw spell. And finally, in this deck, we got two. These are really neat. If you're running these colors in X and you've got a lot of mana, these guys are so good. First, we have Arashi, the Sky Asunder. He's 3 and 2 green for a 5/5 spirit, legendary. Can be your commander if you like. Has the activated ability of X and green, tap him. Arashi the Sky Asunder deals X damage to target creature with flying. Cool. Take down those flyers, and flyers are a big problem for Hydras because not a lot of Hydras have reach.
No.
And green doesn't deal well with flyers, so this is a great way to do it. It also has Channel. Pay X and green to discard Arashi from your hand, and Arashi deals X damage to each creature with flying. So in a pinch, this becomes whatever you're saying, like a hurricane, but it doesn't hit players, right?
Yeah.
Windstorm, I believe, is the spell. But really, you want Arashi as a creature because you want to be able to deal that damage a couple of times, unless you're in dire straits. Similarly to Arashi, we have his red counterpart, Jawari, the Earth of Flame. Both these guys are from Saviors of Kamigawa, it looks like. Yeah. He's the red version, so he's 3 and 2 red for a 3/3 spirit, legendary. And it has X red tap. Jawari, the Earth of Flame, deals X damage to each creature without flying. These guys together obviously kill everything. And he has Channel for X red to discard him and deal X damage to each creature without flying.
So the first one hits target creature, and the Channel hits each creature.
Channel, exactly, yeah. The tap ability hits a target creature
version.
And the channel hits each. So together they are a damage-based board wipe, and individually they're just pretty great.
Yeah.
Jawari, and normally X spells and Commander as board wipes aren't great because you might not be able to get it big enough to kill the big thing you want to kill.
True.
But in these decks, I think they're actually very good options. So these guys both kind of double as sort of pseudo board wipes and are just great creatures also if you get them down. Love them.
Yeah.
It was hard to search for X spells in activated abilities.
Yeah.
In the program we use because I didn't know how to refer to them. I ended up finding some, obviously. 'Cause
Yeah.
I looked in other places. But
There's a spider that does a similar thing.
it's
that
just the
hits
I should have
air.
known, and I'm pretty sure it's just the curly
The
bracket.
braces.
Yeah, is that what they're called?
I think those are braces.
Braces. Yeah, you put braces. They look like braces on your teeth. The weird little.
Yeah,
middle
they're
part.
curvy now, but they will be straight one day.
Exactly. Yeah.
They
yeah.
will be straight.
Yeah.
Those are the hearts of the X spell decks.
That's it. Yep.
I gotta say, it's fun, right? It's fun to go off. It's fun to just be like, I've got an Everflowing Chalice with 15 counters on it, and I'm going to do this huge, crazy spell for 15. My deck doesn't have red, so I have very few cards that just say, you're dead with X. Like, I don't get to do that, so I have to use things like Exsanguinate or that Bond of Agony, but man, it's fun to do this. If you like shenanigans and gears, this is a fun one.
If you like big, splashy, smash you in the face stuff that isn't always just creatures, the Roshin deck really does that well.
Wait, did I miss talking about...
What?
I didn't talk about friggin' Villainous Wealth.
Yeah, I just assumed you were going to save that till later. But
Is it under Surprises and Discoveries?
How could it be? You built the deck
I
around
miss.
it.
Okay, I gotta talk about Villainous Wealth. That's the whole reason I put this in here.
Okay.
Villainous Wealth is a Sulta X spell. X, black, blue, green. Basically, pick an opponent, and you get to flip over the top X cards from their library and cast all of the spells for free. Right?
Yeah.
The official Oracle rule, target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library. You may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So, like, yeah, I'm going to flip your top 20 cards, and I'm going to go nuts. Right? I hope that there's a Rakdos Lord of Riots player or an Animar player or like someone
you need to
with
get pretty big for the Rakdos Lord of Riots.
Not really. Well, I mean, bigger than 10, no problem.
Yeah, you need to get bigger than 10 for sure.
No problem.
Cast those Eldrazi's.
Yeah, no problem. Anyway, I can't believe I missed that. I'm sorry, listeners. I was foolish.
Well, you didn't now. Now you got it.
Good.
Yeah, so what was I going to say there? Oh, yeah, I didn't highlight any of the X red spells because they're all pretty much the same. There's, Fireball and
Devil's Play.
Devil's Play, the one with flashback is great. There's the new one from I think it's from Shadows. The one that you hit an indestructible creature and it takes away indestructible and exiles it instead. That's a good one.
Yeah, and then the Surge one that hits 2 targets.
Yeah, the double one from
Battle or
Oath. Yeah, Oath of Gatewatch. Yeah, so there's some cool ones and there's some different abilities on them, but generally they all come down to X damage, and you definitely want ones that can hit players as well as creatures.
Comet Storm.
Yep, Comet Storm's a great one, and I got like Star Storm is another one I think too. Star something. It's basically a board wipe that also hits opponents. Yeah,
cool.
Great.
Cool. Let's go for the 3 stars of the deck. The cards that performed the strongest, that work the best in this deck. So my 3rd star. Vidalcan Orrery. We didn't talk about this, but a lot of these big X spells are sorcery. You even wished that your Enshrined Memories could have been instant speed. This is why this card is huge. Same deal. I would love to do Villainous Wealth at the end of your turn so that I can hold all my mana up and just be like, oh, you ready for this? And then just cast everything. So Vidalcan Orrery, 4 mana artifact. You may cast non-land cards as though they had flash. Love it. Next star of the deck is one we've talked about, Gelatinous Genesis. Holy cow. Just the scale of this. Now imagine if you can cast this with flash as well. Get out of town. Yeah. And then my top star is Varel of the Hulklade. His ability to double all the counters on everything relevant in this deck except for Iceberg, but that's fine. We'll take it. Just huge. This guy, if this deck gets Varel and it goes unchecked, this deck will just go insane.
Wow, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the 3 stars for Gruul, the Roshin Meanderer. My 3rd star is getting to the point of we got to retire him as a 3rd star here because Garrick's Pack Leader is featured a lot on this show. 4 and a green for a 4/4 beast. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. It's one of the best green draw spells, really.
Yeah, it's probably the best green draw spell.
If you pay 7 with Gelatinous Genesis and you have this out, that's 3. You also draw 3 cards in addition to getting the 3/3/3s, right? So Garrick's Pack Leader is great. And with your Hydras, they're always going to be bigger than 3. And if you really like need to budget this out and you need to draw a lot of cards and you've got like 2 hydras in your hand, well, don't just make 1 giant hydra. Make 2 medium-sized hydras and draw 2 cards off of it. Sometimes that's very much worth it.
Medium-sized hydra.
And by medium-sized, you could still maybe even make them both like 8/8s. You know what I mean? Like they can still be huge depending on what mana you have.
Roshin's adding 4 to 1. You could just spend a single green on one that has a green and tap Roshin, and there's a 4/4. Exactly.
So Garrick's Pack Leader, definitely one of the stars of the deck. Number 2, Zendikar Resurgent.
Ooh, yes, I forgot this card existed.
I've been looking for a place to put this card. I have one in real life, and it's not that it's like it's too good, so I can't decide which deck gets it, because they all want it. Zendikar Resurgent is so fun. It's 5 and 2 green for an enchantment. It says whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. So yeah. This is great. It works for colorless. It works for colored lands as well. It's great. And it says whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Again. So like that's exactly what we want to do, right? Double our mana and draw cards at the same time. That's killer.
Yeah.
So Zendikar Resurgent is great. I can't decide where to put it in real life, though. It's so good. And even at 7 mana, I mean, in Commander, we're going to get there pretty quickly. So that's fine. And the number 1 star is a card we featured on the show before. I love it. We haven't talked about it in a while, though. Sentinel Flute.
That creepy dragon flute.
Creepy little dragon flute. It is a 5-mana artifact that says pay X, right?
Yeah.
Pay X and tap it. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your libribary. Guess what?
Andy Hull. What's the converted mana cost of most of your creatures?
Oh, I don't know. 1, 2, 3 at the most, generally.
For Lifeblood Hydra, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Hydra's converted mana costs are very low.
Because the X doesn't count as converted mana cost on the printed card.
Exactly.
From a rules point of view, the converted mana cost is only what it is while it's on the stack with whatever number you've spent on it.
That is correct.
But in any other, and in the library, in the graveyard, in your hand, it's got a measly converted mana cost of 2 or 1 or 3 or whatever.
So Sentinel Flute, the knock against Sentinel Flute is that if you want to go get a big creature, you have to pay its converted mana cost for it. You have to pay 8 for it.
So you're not going to be able to cast it the same turn.
Exactly. So it's difficult to cast the same turn. With this guy, you pay 1, get your Protean Hydra, and then just cast them for 1 less than you would have normally. Like, that's no problem.
It's important to get your protein.
Your Protean Hydra. I love Protean Hydra. Just made of beef and peanut butter.
Yeah, it's just egg whites and...
It's constantly, like, carrying around a giant, one of those huge jugs of protein powder.
Yeah. Yo, you want to get big?
Chad from The Bachelor was definitely Protean Hydra as a person.
Yeah.
Sentinel Flute, man, I can't say enough good things about it. It's also got X. Like, let's not forget, it also has X. It has X.
And then it's also from 10th edition, which set symbol is a big X.
That's right. Actually, it's reprinted in 10th edition. It's originally from Urza's Saga.
Sure. But let's get the 10th edition one so that we got that big X in the corner.
Sure. Even though Urza's Saga one is definitely cheaper. Only by a bit, though. Sentinel Flute, man. I just can't say enough good things. At end of your turn, if you haven't used Roshin yet, you can just tap it and get a 4-mana thing. Or only use 2 or 1 of it to get one of your Hydras. It's so good. Any Hydra deck wants this. Anything with those low creature spells wants this.
Because you can get a creature with X or less, you don't have to tap any lands. You can just tap Roshin and and get any of your Hydras.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Even if you've tapped out, I guess you would have used Roshin to tap out anyway. Anyway, huge.
Anyways, you probably want to save Roshin for a bigger X thing, but at any rate, you still that possibility still stands. It's so good.
It still stands.
Great. So
wow.
Yeah. Did we have any surprises or discoveries? Looks like you had some here.
I talked about mine. Iceberg. You know, like that enchantment. I never knew this existed. It's cool. It's from Cold Snap or Ice Ages. But yeah, like just that one-shot mana bank. Everflowing Chalice cuts your mana in half to put it in there, although it's repeatable. But like I can get all of my mana in there, minus the 2 blue, as a huge bank. Yeah. That's enormous.
That's great. You know what's a card that would work really well with that is a card that I found that I don't know. Obviously, people know about this card because it's like $250 right now. But It's a card called Carpet of Flowers. It's an enchantment. It costs 1 green, and it says, I'll read the oracle text. It says, at the beginning of each of your main phases, if you haven't added mana to your mana pool with this ability this turn, you may add up to X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls.
Weird.
So basically, it just means you can only do it once, and you do it on
one of your main phases.
On one of your main phases. So you can't do it for both, but you do it for whatever. It's your first main phase. Let's say you add X mana of any color in the same number that people have islands. So that one guy has islands. So if there's a mono blue player, obviously this is insane. If there's a person playing 2 colors, this is still very good, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. Even if they only have, if a 2-color player has 4 islands out, that's 4 free. That's 4 free of any color.
That's great.
Deck. If a person is playing a 3-color deck, I still think this card is well worth it, because even if they only have 1 or 2 islands, that's like 2 islands I think is reasonable, because they might have like a shock land or something, or maybe one of the new have lands, plus a basic island. I really think Carpet of Flowers is pretty much worth it. And what's the most run color in Commander? It's blue, or it's green, right? Like, it's definitely...
Yeah,
blue
blue's
is
up there.
Probably the most common color. You're going to find someone who's going to have 3 or 4 islands, and you can change it each turn. If this guy had 2, and all of a sudden this guy's got 4, guess what? We're choosing the guy with 4 now.
Yeah.
And we're making 4 red mana or 4 black mana, depending on what our colors are. I love this card. I think it's great. It's basically it's a lot like the Siege, the green Siege kind of.
Yeah, a little bit like the green
makes
Siege.
2 green on each of your main phases.
I guess it's an interesting discussion. Would you rather the guarantee 2 per main phase, or would you rather take the chance of getting way more?
Yeah.
Interesting.
In a multicolored deck, I think Carpet of Flowers is better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the... Oh, yeah, there's another one I found. Well, I didn't find this. I just knew it, and I knew about it, and it really is good. Solidarity of Heroes. Otherwise, kind of a weird card. It's 1 and a green. It has Strive. It's an instant. It says Solidarity of Heroes costs 1 and a green more to cast for each creature it targets beyond the first.
So 2 per target.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to hit 2, it costs 4. And it says choose any number of creatures, double the number of 1/1 counters on each of them. So this is a little bit of a one-shot Gilder Baron, and but all your Hydras come out with counters on them.
You know what? Gilder Baron sometimes will be a one-shot Gilder Baron anyway. So this is pretty good.
This is great. I love it. Yeah, you're right, because you got to attack with it sometimes if you really want to do it.
I do have one way to get free taps.
That's nice.
In my deck. So, like, if it comes together, great. But if not, I expect to use Gilderbrand as a one-shot. Maybe this is a better one-shot.
And this is definitely one you can wait until the end of your opponent's turn to cast, because it is instant speed.
Yeah.
Pay 6, hit 3 of your Hydras to double their counters. That can be
just
huge.
pay as much to hit all of them. Like, you can afford it. You can afford it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Roshin won't help you with it, but yeah, you got the
Well, Roshin will help you with the casting costs. Right?
Yeah.
Save you those extra 1 colorlesses. Oh, no, this has to be an X spell. Right, never mind.
I was going to say, yeah. Roshin won't help. No, Roshin won't help you because it's not X.
Roshin don't care about striving to be heroes.
Okay, so, yeah, those are... I'm very stoked about finding Carpet of Flowers, and I think you're pretty stoked about finding Iceberg.
I'm super stoked about Iceberg. I love it. I love Iceberg.
I love it. I love when we find cards like that. And you know where you can find a lot of cards?
Ooh.
Wizard Tower.
WizardTower.com, the Wizard's Tower.
Yep. They got a bit of a sale on, actually.
Yeah, if you listen to this right now, you have this until the 8th of this month, July 8th.
Yeah.
To get an extra 10% off your order. That's in addition to the 3%
singles
only, right?
Yeah.
This is all singles only. Not to mention the new shipping, right? The new shipping options. And I was on a little chat with them. They intend to, once Canada Post settles down what they're doing, they're going to hopefully go back to the old system of just free shipping in Canada for singles 15 or more.
Great.
Yeah.
Now you went there. You went to Wizard's Tower, didn't you?
I visited.
You were in Ottawa for Canada Day.
Yes, I was in Ottawa for Canada Day very briefly. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to fit it into my schedule to visit, so I didn't want to announce it too much because I would have hated for people to, had to do the take backs on that one.
Yeah, you would have had to do take-backs. You don't
Cool
wanna do that.
store. If you're in the Ottawa area, check it out.
Nice and big. A lot of tables. A lot of
Here's
play
what I
area.
bought. Some cool new deck boxes in colors I don't have.
Oh, nice.
I think my cap for Commander decks will be how many colors of deck boxes I can get.
Okay.
But I found 2 new colors I don't have, like a weird blue and a weird purple. I bought a Mizzix playmat, and I bought gold-plated dice. They just look
Ooh.
gold. I don't think they're actually
Are
gold.
they like the metal kind?
Yeah, the
like heavy
metally.
kind?
No, they're not heavy. They're regular dice, but they're like
okay.
golden in color.
I love those heavy dice.
Those are
heavy
cool
metal
too.
ones.
Those are cool, but these are just gold.
I feel like Jimmy, I think Jimmy has those. Jimmy or Josh has those. I remember the only time I've ever played with them is when playing with those guys. Yeah, check it out, man. WizardsTower.com. Got the U.S. store. Got the Canadian store. Use our code Tower of Brews always.
5% off.
Yeah, orders of $15 or more. Great. All right, let's get back to the show. It's time for the budget report.
This is where we take all of the cards and we send them to Dimension X.
Oh, yes.
right?
Meet Krang and the Neutrinos.
Yeah, Krang the Neutrinos from Ninja Turtles. Whichever ones can mutate into crime fighters, fight their way out, and make it back home are the ones we will keep. The ones who do not will be lost forever in a dimension without sight or sound.
Do you remember the Neutrinos song that would happen when they would come on the screen?
No.
It was like the beginning of.
That is vaguely, yes.
I remember
yes.
hating it because it never got to the part I wanted it to get to. Because
Sure.
obviously they couldn't use that music.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess they didn't license that music. But yeah,
Speaking of music from the Ninja Turtles, you know what I
Okay.
just learned?
Yeah.
Do you know famed showrunner Chuck Lorre
yeah.
wrote the theme song to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
What?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Chuck Lorre, master of all professions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, he had so little information to write it with that he just kind of he says Michelangelo was a party dude. That
so
was
like
his
he
invention.
decided those things.
Yeah, those official titles. I'm sure there was some
Leonardo
characteristics.
leads, Donatello does machines.
Yeah. Raphael's cool, but
Raphael's
rude. Yeah.
Michelangelo's a party dude.
Yeah, I mean, some of that might even be just for the rhyme, but
Yeah, but I mean,
those stuck.
what-
That's how we identify the turtles.
Yeah, because I wonder, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent here, but the Turtles didn't really have those personalities, I don't think, in the comics.
I don't know. I never read the comics.
I never really read the comics either, but I did watch the documentary about Eastman and Laird creating the comics as like a Daredevil spoof.
Okay.
That's why they're called the Foot Clan, because the villains in Daredevil
Yes.
are the Hand.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a Frank Miller
Cool.
parody.
Oh, because it
comic.
was black and white and it was
Yeah.
real gritty looking.
Yeah, it
All
was real
right.
gritty looking. It's cool.
All right.
Anyways, but yeah, the colors were given to them by the cartoon, and I guess these cool roles were given to them by Chuck Lorre. Anyways,
Yeah, Big Bang Theory, Tuesday nights, CBC,
CBC,
8 p.m.
CBS.
I don't know. I don't watch that show very much.
okay, let's get to the budget report.
Right, this budget report. So the most expensive cards in my deck, the Sultai X-Spell deck, coming at number 3, Feral Hydra. This is a... Oops, I reversed it.
Okay,
This is
yeah.
a Feral Hydra.
I got this guy.
Yeah. It's a green and an X. Enters with X plus +1 encounters on it, and anyone can spend 3 generic to add a +1 encounter to Feral Hydra. It's like $2. And it's a decent, cheap Hydra that doesn't do much, but it's like, well, that's kind of expensive. Can we cut it? Yeah, we could probably find a cheaper Hydra. Next most expensive, Gilder Baron. This is pushing $350.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking 14 gumballs. You got to keep him. It's such a huge ability. And put in that Strive one. I don't know, because we want to hit other things. We want to hit Everflowing Chalice. We want to hit our charge lands. We want to hit all those things with this guy. So I don't think... I think he's worth the gumballs, for sure. Keep him in. Most expensive card in the deck, Vidalcan Orrery. The artifact that gives non-land spells flash. It's $5. This is the max for our budget. If it was a gumball more, I would have to cut it, or I'd have to really squeeze it in. Do you know what is out of budget now? Leyline of Anticipation. The blue enchantment that does
I knew
it.
that.
I thought it was kind of cheap for some reason.
I think when I got it, it was like $6 or $7 or something.
Well, anyway, this is the only way to do it, except for that instant quicken, which we do run in this deck.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Just because that's so huge to do these big X spells at the end of last turn.
Yeah.
I say keep Vidalcan Orrery. I say if you don't have a Vidalcan Orrery, get a Vidalcan Orrery for your stable binder, because I bought one a while ago for like $2.
Yeah, me too.
Get it while the getting's good.
I really hope they reprint it again in Conspiracy, because it's such a huge Commander card. It's so good in Commander.
It's huge.
And I don't think it's run in any of the other formats, really. Like, it's $5, which, I guess in the grand scheme, if you're willing to spend more, it's not a lot. But to budget players, it is. So I hope they reprint it again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at Roshin Meanderer's budget report.
Okay.
I think we came in somewhere around $48 or something like that. Number 3 most expensive card is the Protean Hydra at $2 even. The Magic 2011 version, where it was just a rare, and in 2010 it was a mythic rare. So actually that one is the M10 version is a bit more expensive.
Got less rare.
Yeah, it got less rare. That's not a mythic card. Let's be honest here. Maybe in limited it is, but for every other format it's not really. It's a $2 Hydra, but it's great, and it's just like you were saying about the other one, like. Maybe you could cut it, but actually I think this is one of the better ones, so I think you keep this guy. Next is the Savageborn Hydra, in and around just over $2, $2.30 or so. This one I think is maybe the best Hydra in the deck, so I think we keep this guy for sure.
Double strike, yeah.
Double strike, and the ability to keep making him bigger as the game goes on is very, very good. Plus he's Gruul colors. He's a gold card. I always like it when you can get the actual dual color cards in there and make them great. Number 1 most expensive card, Carpet of Flowers.
Flower carpet.
Yeah, $250 for old Carpet of Flowers. Is it worth it?
I don't think so.
You would for budget reasons, you would be looking at the Outpost Siege as a more, as a more budget version. But I do think at $250 this isn't that bad. This is not that expensive. And in those games where you have a mono or two color commander with blue, Carpet of Flowers is going to make you a ton of mana.
I suppose, and this isn't.
It costs 1.
It costs 1.
So you can play this on turn 1 and then
get
have
second main phase.
Maybe get 2 if the guy's got 2 islands or whatever, right? So
yeah. So okay, yeah, this is definitely a good card.
It's definitely a good card, and it's only $250. It's not a $5 card, right?
What's your meta like? Next time you're playing
Yeah.
in your meta, in your brain, just take a moment and take a mental snapshot and be like, how many islands are on the board right now?
Exactly.
Do you see a player with 3 or more islands? Cool. Do it again next time. Do you see 3 or more? Like if you consistently see 3 or 4 islands on someone's board, man, run this card.
Yeah. And
if you never do, if your meta has nothing but duels and there's only ever 1 island, then maybe
it's
not.
not that great. But I really think this is good. Not to mention if anybody drops down one of those Stormtide Leviathans.
Oh, it turns everything into islands?
Everything into islands also, and you just pick the guy with the most lands. This is great. Yeah.
Well, now I want to, if I'm running Stormtide Leviathan in a green-blue deck, I want Carpet of Flowers. You want
Carpet of Flowers, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's it. There's the show.
Wow. X
gun give it to you, man.
X gun give it to you.
X gun give it to you.
Yeah.
X did give it to us.
Gross.
And today, triple X. X did give it to us. Ice Cube or Vin Diesel. Who's your preferred triple X?
Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Got to go with the original, I guess. I like Ice Cube in general more, so I'm going to go with Cube on this one.
Okay. Who's your favorite? Professor X or Exhibit?
Who's my favorite? Professor X or Exhibit? Is that what it is?
Yeah, out of those two, who do you like better?
I didn't think it would be this hard to choose.
I didn't either. The fact that you're pausing this long is shocking.
Well, because, listen, Exhibit brought us Pimp My Ride.
Oh,
he also brought us the great meme of I put whatever, you know what I mean? Like that thing.
Yeah.
Yo, dog, I heard you like cameras, so I put a camera in your camera in the back of your camera. There's another camera, right? Yeah. Which is, of course, also from Pimp My Ride.
That's a great meme.
It's a great meme. It's like there's so many Magic cards where it's like Gelatinous Genesis. Yo, dog, I heard you like X spells, you know?
Yeah, so I put
pay X for your X spells, but you got to pay 2X for it, right? Like, it's killer. So, you know what? And Professor X in the cartoons is a bit of a ween. He's only been cool lately now that Patrick Stewart's playing him.
Or what's his name?
Or
Scottish guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
I can't remember his name right now.
Last King of Scotland.
Yeah.
Shoot.
James
McAvoy.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Exhibit. I didn't think I was gonna do that.
Wow,
I thought it was
Exhibit.
I thought at first I heard the question. It was a hands down no brainer. Professor X.
That's what I thought. I thought like Professor X and like what's the next X I can think of? Oh well, Exhibit. That's nothing. This is not going to be a competition. But surprisingly,
and X gonna give it to you is Exhibit, right? That's not DMX. I thought, but it might be. Is it DMX?
Okay.
X
New question. What's better,
DMX or Exhibit,
or a BMX bicycle?
I'm going BMX hard on this. I think DMX sucks. I really do.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, listen, Stop Drop, Shut Him Down.
Oh yeah, great
Open
tune.
Up Shop,
great tune.
song. But that's the only good one he had, I think. Unless, no, X can give it to you is DMX.
Okay.
It is because I remember his dumb voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
His dumb voice. We're gonna give it to you. He barked a lot.
Yeah.
He was into being a dog. Oh, Get At Me Dogs is a good song too. Never mind. We're good. No. I like BMX bikes are the sickest. Always have been. Always will be.
Okay, so please, if you want to reach out to us on Twitter, tweet us your favorite things with an X in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Please tweet that at us.
Yeah.
At Commander's Brew. Individually, I'm at Sean Tabaras.
I'm at Andy Hullbone.
Yeah, send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube. We now have a YouTube channel, also Commander's Brew. You can watch this podcast on YouTube. And let's talk about our Twitch Brew and Brawl. We do one of the last Sunday of every month. This Sunday is going to be the 31st of July. 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Toronto time. That's Eastern Standard Time. We're going to brew a deck together with people online. We're going to play with some of the people online. We're going to have a few laughs. It's going to be a good time. Invite your friends.
Invite your friends. Feel free to check out our Patreon too, Commander's Brew.
Oh yeah.
If you want to support the show, you can go ahead and do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, we got some fun stuff to send out if you do support the show. Again, to our existing patrons, we're going to have to wait until Canada Post
really
sorts it out. But anyway, we'll get them to you soon. We promise.
Yeah.
Guys, stick around for the Commander interview. I have a feeling this one might be fun.
Okay, cool.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Commander's Brew Commander interview, where we interview someone from the show on one of the cards. Andy, unfortunately, could not be with us. He had to go out and... well, as you know, here in Canada, we no longer have pennies, so he has to go trade them all in for nickels. But we do have with us a very powerful creature, Protein Hydra. How do am I saying that right?
I pronounce it protein.
Protein.
It's protein, but I pronounce it protein.
Protein Hydra.
Right.
Great. Thank you for having us. May I ask how many Plus One Plus Encounters are on you right now?
Right now, bro, I'm probably rocking around 9 protein counters.
Wow.
That's why I'm calling them also protein counters.
Protein counters, sure. They're huge. So protein, as we know, one of the building blocks of nutrition, and it is what builds muscle.
One of the building blocks of getting you huge, bro.
Yeah, and you're all about getting huge, right?
One of the number one things. Bro, remove a +1+1 counter. Remove a protein counter, get 2 more proteins. When you are working out, you're removing work and you're doubling up on hugeness.
That's true. If we remember our biology, when you strain your muscles, you do tear them a little bit.
Rip them up.
And then they grow back stronger.
Yeah. That's why it's called getting ripped.
Oh, is it?
That's why I think so.
Okay.
I know the biology of it, so that's what I apply to it, to my own knowledge.
Then why do you think that it's also called getting cut?
Getting cut because you cut up those muscles on the inside. You replace them with bigger muscles, bro.
Yeah,
cut them off. Cut off your muscles, make them bigger.
Well,
that's what Protein Hydra does.
Yeah, that's what. So your workout routine. Could you talk us through your workout routine then? Is it literally just cutting parts off of you?
Yep, for sure it is. I'll just have my protein powder jug with me, and I'll just lop off a piece here and there. Guess what? It grows back double up, end of turn.
Well, I was going to ask you for workout tips for myself, how to get into shape. How to get
off half your leg, bud.
No, but
it's going to grow back 2 more legs there. Chop off one of your arms. Guess what? Double arm side. That one.
But as a human being, I don't want extra legs and arms.
You're a human.
I am a human.
That's no good for me, bro. I got to go Hydra styles only.
Okay, so
I can
guess,
only give you protein tips for Hydras.
Okay. Well, then maybe we can just talk nutrition, though, right? Like
sure, general nutrition.
General nutrition. So that's something we can share. What improvements can I make? So right now, I think I've done pretty good today. I had oatmeal.
What happened today?
I had oatmeal with nuts and cinnamon.
Sounds weak. Not enough protein in there.
Well, the almonds have
nope.
some. Okay.
You got to put beef in there always.
Then I had like a egg McMuffin.
Egg McMuffin.
That's sort of that's not very healthy.
That doesn't sound too healthy, bro. You getting all kinds of other stuff in there. You got carbs, you got fats, you got eggs. Eggs are protein. Stay away from eggs, bro.
No,
not enough protein in those.
Not enough in eggs.
Nope. There's a little bit, but not enough. You got to get protein powders only or smash down on some beef.
Okay. What if I was vegetarian? What about, do you have any tips for the vegetarian hydras out there?
Vegetarian hydras are looking at nuts all day long. That's all they got to deal with. They got to have a tub of nuts, and they got to be chopping. You got to be careful when you're chopping stuff off if you're veg, bro, because the nuts don't grow you back so good.
Tub of nuts?
Tub of nuts. You got to go buy at your local GNC. You can go easily buy tub of nuts. Good product. And, chomp down on a couple of those. Not going to be good as straight beef or like if you're eating like a beast. Beast is good protein.
Roast beast?
Yeah, roast beast is great. I'm going mostly paleo, right? Like I'm pure caveman on this one.
Of course you are.
Protein's only paleo, so we pretty much only eat raw beast. Or human is good sometime.
Wait, human?
Or maybe
No. But I am not good. Like you, like not me though.
No, don't worry. You're safe right now. For right now, because I already had my beef. I already had my beast for today.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can't double up. I only gotta
watch those calories.
25 more minutes or so, and then I'm looking to chomp.
Okay. Well, then we better cut this short.
You can't have it too long, or your dinner, bro.
No, I don't want to be dinner. But I do want to thank you for having us. And just one last question before we go. I'm just curious. Have you ever cut too much off at once?
Listen, if I was being honest with you, yes, I have.
Because that's dangerous protein.
Yeah, it's super dangerous, and honestly, I almost died. And this is a lesson to all you little hydras out there. When you're chopping it off, make sure you got a little anthem with you, right? Because otherwise you're going straight down to 0-0, and you can't go down to 0-0. You gotta keep it at one at least. So, guess what? Not glorious anthem, but one of the other ones.
You use anthems?
Only if I'm palling with my white bros. You know what I mean?
You use artificial means to get bigger?
Hey, man.
I thought you were all natural.
No, man. Listen.
That's like you're juicing.
Yeah.
You've just admitted that you juice.
I'm making juice. Like real juice.
Juice is not paleo.
I'm making juice out of plants and saplings. That's what I'm juicing with. But
okay.
Maybe artificial growth, maybe a little bit. But guess what? Then you can chop off maximum and get super huge, bro. You gotta juice.
Okay, no, I'm not.
Gotta go anthems.
I cannot condone juicing to our listeners who want to look up to you. I do not. The views of Protein Hydra do not match the views of Commander.
Yes, they do.
No. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.